This movie is nuts. Took me for quite the ride. I really enjoyed last year's 28 Years Later, but I get that a lot of people didn't love it, and I understand the criticism of the movie. The Bone Temple, on the other hand, is kind of a huge change for this movie, with the new director, same writer, so it's the same story going on. But I think if you like the franchise but didn't love the first one, you might actually like this one a lot. Okay, I'm gonna break this review down in 4 sections. Number 1, what did I like about the movie? Number 2, what are the differences between this movie and the last movie? 3, are there any criticisms? And 4, what's my final verdict? Just so you know, there's not going to be any spoilers, so don't worry about that. I'll talk about some of the plot points, but this is stuff that you probably know from the trailers or you've read through other reviews, but no major spoilers. So number 1, what did I like about the movie? I do really love that this movie kind of jumped off right where last year's 28 Years Later ended. The Bone Temple, however, changes the direction right away. So at the end of the last movie, Spike ran off from his dad and he's trying to find himself, obviously, in the world of zombies, so it's very risky, and he's being chased down by zombies at the end of the movie. And Jimmy, who's this Cockney type blonde-haired guy, and they all wear wigs. There's a little cult. They come save him doing some weird British ghetto London fights. It's pretty funny and it's kind of cool, but that's where that movie ends off. What I didn't know at the end of that movie is that the Jimmies and Jimmy Crystal, who's the leader of the Jimmies, is kind of a really bad guy. And I shouldn't even say kind of. He's really bad. He's mean, he's scary, and at the beginning of this movie, Spike has to fight to the death against another Jimmy to stay alive and join Jimmy's crew. Whatever, it was kind of culty, but before the fight starts, Jimmy Crystal, the main guy, he prays to Satan, and you realize, oh crap, this guy's crazy, he's scary, he's a Satanist, he's a bad guy, and it kind of sets the tone that the Jimmies and Jimmy Crystal in particular is gonna be the main big bad guy of this movie. Very scary, very threatening. I loved it. It's a good storyline. Now, the second threat of this movie is obviously the zombies, right? In the first movie, 28 Years Later from last year, the zombies have kind of evolved. They hunt in packs. They have a leader, an alpha, which is a big beefy dude who's really mean and he's really evil and he tears people's heads and skulls out of their body. He's really bad. So that's the other threat of this movie. Now, the zombies and Jimmy, they kind of come together, and I really love where Alex Garland, who's the writer of this movie and the other movies in the franchise, I love where Alex Garland kind of writes this movie in the direction of we have the big alpha and the Jimmies, and they kind of come together, and the story is just so awesome. And I can't spoil anything at the end, but the way they bring these two things together, it kind of makes the first movie almost like a prequel to this movie, and it makes it all feel very complete. I love this story, absolutely, it's amazing. But in the middle of the movie, you kind of get that threat from the zombies, from Jimmy and his satanic cult, and honestly, for me, it was really scary. And not scary like you're in a cabin in the woods, you think someone's gonna get you scary. Scary like it's tense. I was literally squirming in my seat. I felt tension throughout the whole thing. There are a couple jump scares throughout the movie. It's pretty scary and you feel that anxiety throughout. One thing that you find out is Jimmy and his gang or cult of Jimmies are very brutal. They're evil, they're Satanists, they're mean. They do all the things you might think an evil, brutal, cultist clan of people might do. One more thing that I really liked about this movie was the ending and where the story went. I'm not going to spoil anything, but like I said, Alex Garland kind of takes everything together and makes this ending make sense for the franchise. Really quickly, before I move on to number 2, what's different, and this kind of connects the two. It's a little bit of a transition, but it's the setting of the movie, and anyone who makes 28 Years Later movies has a bit of a blessing because the settings, the forest, the vast open fields of England and the countryside are beautiful, and they leave a lot of anxiety. It's just a great setting, and I love the way the setting was done in this movie, though it was different than last year's 28 Years Later, which I'll describe right now, and how everything's different. Number 2, what are the differences between these movies? I already said both movies are written by Alex Garland, who I love. He's a great movie writer, and he's directed a couple movies too. great movies. This movie is written in the same universe, so it doesn't feel off. It doesn't feel like some random new guys coming in and taking over the franchise, but it is missing Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle, if you've seen his movies, he's kind of an artsy British director. He's not very grounded, not crazy grounded, like, not crazy ungrounded, I should say, like, not crazy ungrounded like Terrence Malick. But sometimes in movies, he has like long open shots of scenery and cinematography. That's not quite here in this movie, and that's okay, but it's a more straightforward film. So if you didn't love 28 Years Later because it felt weird and it was like the small story about family dynamics and a mother, a son, and a father, this movie is way more straightforward, and there are good things and bad things about that, but I think you'll like that because this movie just feels more like a traditional movie, whereas the last one kind of feels weird and a little bit off. Honestly, that's the main difference. This movie is just a little more traditional, a little different in directing style. Not necessarily good or bad, but depending on your preferences, it could be good, it could be bad. Let's get to number 3. What are my criticisms of this movie? Let's address that Danny Boyle is a little more cinematography focused than Nia DaCosta. I was worried that she would come in and take over this franchise and wouldn't do a good job. Not because I don't like her movies, because I haven't seen any of them, but because I didn't know who she was. I love Danny Boyle's artistic direction with the film, so I didn't know what we were going to get into. However, she did do a really amazing job with this. I'd love to see her direct more movies in this franchise in the future. It was great. She didn't ruin anything, and while she's less artsy, honestly, I kind of preferred it in the end this a little bit. I did miss Danny Boyle, some of his weird artistic stuff, but most people don't like that, and generally I don't even like that, so I think she did an amazing job. I didn't really know who she was before. I don't think I've seen any of her movies, but she came in, directed this movie. It was awesome. The main criticism I have, and it's really a personal thing, is specifically Jimmy and his cult. They're very brutal and gory and bloody and tortury, and they show a lot of it. a lot of the torture, the blood, the gore is shown, especially on the human side. You know, there's something when like a zombie attacks a person, there's something unreal about it, and you kind of enjoy it. You think it's funny. Sometimes it's nasty and gross you out. But when a human attacks another human and it's very gory and brutal, I just squirmed a little bit, and it was so brutal that it took me out a little bit because it was a little less engaged. And sometimes when you're a little too violent, you might lose your fan base, and it didn't lose me. It just took me out of the film just a little bit and made me want to fast forward through that part. In the theaters, I couldn't fast forward through it, so I kind of had to deal with it. Again, this is a personal preference thing. I just didn't really appreciate how nasty. I wish they would have kind of cut away a little bit more, or didn't show the aftermath or the brutal screaming and things like that. Though that was just a little much for me, and I wish it was just a little less descriptive. But that's really it. That's all my criticism. So let's get to number 4. What are my overall thoughts about this movie? I love this movie. I love it a lot. It might be my favorite movie of the franchise. I'm probably going to go back and rank them all. I haven't seen the first one and the second one in several years. I obviously just saw the last one last year. This movie was so much fun, and I love the story. I like the characters. You're really bought into these characters in this world, and I want to see more movies in this franchise. Again, I won't spoil the ending, but the way it ended, the way everything came together, and the doctor played by Ralph Fiennes has big consequences for this movie. So my recommendation for this franchise is keep Alex Garland as the writer, and even Nia DaCosta, because she did a great job, and keep making them and just do an amazing film with this story. There's a little surprise at the ending. I won't spoil it. You probably could figure out what it is if you haven't seen it yet. I would love to see this next movie pick up right after where this movie ended, kind of like this one in last year's movie. So this movie was awesome. It's a 4.5 out of 5 Fs. It's an amazing way to start off films in 2026 and amazing way to start off horror films. It set a high bar for me, honestly. In January, you usually don't get some of the best films of the year, but we'll see how it goes. I love this movie and I'm excited for the future of this franchise. Thanks so much for watching so far. We're building this FF Media brand and I'd love if you follow along. So please like and subscribe and just stay along for movie reviews from myself. We have a couple other guys who do movie and video games reviews. We have a podcast, so join in. We have a lot going on in the next few months. Thanks for watching.